Welcome to the Ad Nauseam podcast, where classical gourmands everywhere can finally get their fill. Join us for a delectable discussion of Greco-Roman civilization stretching from the Minoans and Mycenaeans through the Renaissance and right down to the present. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here are your hosts, Dr. David Noe and Dr. Jeff Winkle.
Welcome to the Ad Nauseam podcast. My name is Dr. David C. Noe, and I'm here in the vomitorium with my good friend for episode 67, Dr. Jeffrey T. Winkle. Jeff, how are you?
This evening?
Yes.
I'm feeling great this evening.
Are you really?
I had a good day, a nice relaxing day. I'm ready. I'm prepared, I think, for this podcast.
Prepared and ready.
Prepared and ready.
Okay.
Yes,
You've been through the bloom stage.
Exactly. I'm ready to brew.
All right.
I'm ready to go. How are you feeling?
I'm doing pretty well.
Good.
It's been a long day, like most days. Had a delicious meal, I have to say.
You did?
I did. I had a chicken pesto pizza.
Really?
For supper.
Was this homemade?
No. We went to a restaurant.
Okay.
Popina.
Well, I've not heard of this one.
It's not the name of a restaurant. It's the Latin word for restaurant.
Oh.
Popina.
Okay.
You like that?
Wait, yeah, you're kind of flaunting already.
Oh, come on. Humble brag.
Yeah.
I don't know that much Latin.
Chicken pesto pizza, it sounds excellent.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
What did you sup on for the dining?
I made tacos for the family.
Tacos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chicken tacos. It was great.
Picante DM sees the salsa.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So what are we doing this evening?
Tonight this is a holiday themed episode. We are going to give our listeners a suggestion of some stocking stuffers for the classically oriented gift getter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the classically oriented gift getter is going to get some suggestions for what they might get got.
Exactly.
All right.
I couldn't say it better.
So as we get into it, we need to start with a shout out.
As always. So who do we got tonight?
Tonight we have a good friend of my son's, actually. Her name, and my daughter. Her name is Campbell Wiersma. And Campbell is a local Grand Rapidian.
Excellent.
I don't know if she lives exactly in Grand Rapids, but in the vicinity. Campbell is a junior in high school, and she has been homeschooled her entire life. She is currently enrolled in CC and is studying Cicero and Julius Caesar. In her free time, she enjoys reading classics, poetry, and hanging out with my kids.
Really?
Yeah.
So she spent time at your house?
Yes, she has.
Really?
Delightful young lady. Used to work for a bakery.
Oh, really?
You want to be friends with someone who works at a bakery.
Yeah, I agree. I used to work at a bakery.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Vans?
No, it was not Vans. This was out in Hudsonville. It was called Beerling's Cream Curl Bakery.
Beerling's Cream Curl.
Cream Curl. Uh-huh. That was kind of their signature
So
thing.
It's a hairdo and a bear claw at the same time?
Something like that. No, their specialty item was you know what a cream curl is?
I do not.
It's like a pastry horn, and it's injected full of the cream.
It's an injected pastry horn?
It is. Exactly. They tried that name first and did not sell well.
Yeah. What would that be? Like an IPH?
An IPH.
Yeah.
An injected pastry horn. Yeah.
So what was your responsibility?
I rolled.
Injector?
I did not get to inject. I rolled the dough and fed it through a flattener machine for hours. Yeah.
You rolled the dough.
Yep.
And for hours, fed it through a flattening machine.
Which sent it down this conveyor belt, which chopped it into the proper length of pastry.
So that it could be injected.
Well, then people had to roll it, and then it baked it, and then you inject it.
Mark it with J or anything like that?
I'm sorry?
Did they have to mark it with J after they rolled it and patted it?
Mark it with a J because of my...
Jeff.
Gotcha, right?
You know the children's rhyme?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
You roll it, you mark it with whatever.
And then toss it in the oven for...
Baby and me or something like that. Yes.
So thank you, Campbell, is what we're trying to say.
Right.
For listening and being a devoted devotee of the podcast.
And I hope your experience working in the bakery is much better than mine.
Yeah. And reading some Cicero and Julius Caesar, how we love to hear that.
That's great.
You have an opening quote for us?
Yeah, this comes from Phyllis Diller.
The late Phyllis Diller. Comedienne, very funny.
Yes, and the quote reads, "Christmas is a time when everybody wants his past forgotten and his present remembered."
Ah, isn't that nice?
It's very nice, not very funny.
Equivocation, his present.
Oh,
present.
I got
there. You didn't get it.
There's the joke. You
spent too many years injecting pastry horns. You've forgotten it.
Yeah.
His past forgotten, his present.
I see. I didn't catch the wordplay there.
Yeah, so. You don't have the gift,
So,
I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, Phyllis. No
All right.
disrespect intended.
So we're going to give the listener or the viewer a lighthearted look at how they can equip and outfit their classically obsessed loved one this holiday season. we're going to go through some stocking stuffers.
Yes, some things that would, I think, at least from my list, would fit nicely into a stocking, and some that are maybe not for an actual stocking.
Not stocking sized.
No, and some are theoretical or even digital in my case.
Do you have an actual stocking that you hang by the chimney with care?
I do. My mother-in-law is a great crafter, and she's made stockings for all of us. They're wonderful. How about you?
I have one that Mrs. Noe made for me long ago, and we put it up every Christmas, and I really appreciate it.
Is it personalized? Does it have things on it that kind of represent you?
Not especially. There are no irascible elements or anything like that.
No, it's not a grumpy stocking.
Curmudgeonly. I have a Bah Humbug sweater I like to wear.
Nice.
That's me.
Yeah.
But no, it's just I think it has some apples on it. If I try to describe it, I won't remember it, so I better not.
Yeah.
But very nice. It's a nice personal touch. So let's get right into it. And Jeff, we are going to start out with some of your picks. Now, is top 10, top 11?
Well, I mean, I came up with 11.
Okay.
So part of it is it's a Spinal Tap reference.
Yes.
My list goes to 11.
Right.
Also, my favorite author from antiquity, Apuleius, his Metamorphoses, his book had a chapter 11.
Okay.
So it's got, I like kind of the oddity of that. So
all right.
I went one beyond. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, Jeff. Well, let's get started. What's your first one here?
My first one. Let me reach down to grab it. And for those watching, visual aid here. For those listening, an incentive to maybe check out the video.
Yes.
Okay. So
what is it?
This tiny little book, this complete handbook of Greek verbs, is one of these things that absolutely got me through grad school.
Okay.
Right? So we did that episode on our
the 9 things I hated about grad school.
exactly, and we went through some of the travails that both of us went through. It was it was a rewarding but a difficult time.
Yes.
And this tiny little book here, which I have it here in my stocking stuffers list, but I'm curious to know if it's even in print anymore.
I think it has probably been reprinted by someone. I've seen some things like that floating around.
Did you ever have this thing?
I didn't. I know of it. There was another one by Veitch, Veitch, which is Greek verbs, irregular and something.
Yeah.
Similar kind of comprehensive list of all the different forms of the Greek verb.
Right, and this falls into that same kind of category, and it fits right nicely into your back pocket if you so desire.
Right.
So so like Dave was just saying, it's it has hundreds and hundreds of Greek verbs in here, and it gives them for each verb all of their forms.
Declined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's wonderful. It was I had a professor in graduate school, Bob Wallace, and all of us in his Greek class, all of us students had this thing.
Did you sign each other's copies?
We should have.
Yeah,
that would have been great.
Make it memorable.
But he hated it. He hated
Why?
it. Right? I remember him saying. I think he said this was. He had like an Italian version of it that was called like tutti verbi, like all the verbs or something like that.
Ooh.
So he always referred to this. Oh, I see you all have that tutti. You've got your tutti on the desk. I hate it. So for him, he says this becomes your crutch, and you won't learn the verbs, right? But reading, Thucydides and Herodotus, Aeschylus. Oh, it was brutal.
Yeah.
And this thing came in handy. So I think for anybody who's serious about learning Greek, this is I wouldn't say it was a crutch, but an absolute necessary tool for getting through.
Yeah. Well, the nature of a crutch is you don't use it forever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to talking about books as crutches, I'm generally against that notion idea as well. But you don't stay on it. You stay on it until you regain strength or until you learn how to walk.
I like that, yeah.
Training wheels is kind of the idea.
Training wheels.
So who's the author?
The author is, it comes from a certain Marinone and Guala. So I think there's your, at least Marinone, the Italian.
Yes,
right.
The N stands for Niccolo, maybe?
Niccolo, and I know.
Marioni and Frances, something like that.
Yeah, Francesco
Guala.
Right. So it was originally printed in 1961. The copy I had was reprinted in 1988. I have no idea what the status of it is these days, but
so we could
cheap. Check it out. Yeah.
We could call that a wadi makum.
Yes.
A to be taken with me.
Yes,
right?
exactly right.
A wadi makum.
Yep. So I took this everywhere with me.
Sweet.
On campus at Northwestern University.
You got to do that. So that's number one, to stuff in the stocking.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the reasons I chose it because I thought, this could easily fit into
it could, for sure.
Right?
Yep. So let's go on to number two.
Number two is one that would not fit into a typical stocking. It's one of the from the Asterix series. Did you ever read these?
I have just a little bit.
Okay.
I have a distant admiration for the Asterix series. I don't really know what to think of them, but I'd like to learn more.
Yeah. I loved these things. So I mean, these go way back. I think they were originally written and drawn in the 1950s and the 1960s.
Are they French? Are they Belgian? Netherlands? I can't remember.
I think it's so Goscinny. He's a Frenchman. He's the one who writes these things, and then it was Uderzo, an Italian man, who pinks it, who drew them.
Pinks it. So it's a transalpine kind of collaboration,
right? But it's definitely kind of French in focus. So kind of the gag is that it's from the Gauls' point of view, and it's this last kind of holdout against the Romans. You have these Gallic barbarians, and in these stories, the Romans are kind of the buffoons and the idiots, and whatever they try to do, they're trying to kind of capture this last village.
So it's kind of like Hogan's Heroes.
It is a little bit like Hogan's Heroes.
Did you ever watch Hogan's Heroes?
I did as a kid. I wasn't a huge fan. But
I wasn't a huge fan either because I couldn't understand a lot of the humor.
Right.
But my dad thought it was very funny.
Your dad liked it? Thought it was hilarious?
And it's about, the Americans in the prisoner of war camp?
Yeah.
The German prisoner of war camp, and the Germans are... they're buffoons,
the buffoons, right?
And the Americans are imprisoned but constantly outsmarting them.
Exactly.
So that's how it is.
It's definitely, and that's kind of a classic comic conceit.
Yes, it
right?
is.
The underdogs are the ones who really have all the cleverness, right?
It's the Plowtine slave master trope.
Yeah, exact's
Yeah.
Right.
See how he works some classics in there?
Exactly. Right? It's Xanthias and frogs. Right?
Nice.
Right. So what's wonderful about these is that they're printed in dozens and dozens of languages.
Right.
So I remember when I had to pass my...
I think we can set it out here. No, I don't want you to be stuck holding that.
Oh, okay. We can put it out here.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was studying for I had to pass my French and German translation exams.
Right.
A friend of mine at the time got me a number of these in French and German, and I knew the stories, and that helped immensely. So this one I have here, Asterix apud Gothos, it's in Latin.
Right.
Asterix among the Goths.
Among the Goths. That's great. Very, very nice.
Great stuff.
Okay, so the third one.
Yes, Robert Fagel's translation of the Iliad. I think I have here, it's bad form, I don't even have the one I have listed here, but I have his Odyssey here.
Or just, we'll just ask the viewer, the listener, pretend Jeff's holding the Iliad.
Pretend the Iliad is underneath my fingers here. Right. Wonderful translation, both the Iliad and the Odyssey. But what I'm recommending here is really for the stocking stuffer is Bernard Knox's introduction to the Iliad, which I think is worth the price of admission alone.
What about it do you like so much?
The way he kind of breaks down kind of the worldview of Homer.
Okay.
And kind of understanding the gods, understanding what makes a hero tick in the Iliad, understanding the major themes. I've never read anyone in such a short space break it down so succinctly. That could be written for an expert to someone picking up for the first time.
Right.
It's brilliant. And I wish he had done the introduction for the Odyssey. I think Fagles himself tackled it, which is fine.
Okay.
But
Fagles is no slouch.
No, not at all.
But the late Bernard Knox,
yeah, he's
a top shelf, top drawer scholar.
One of my heroes in the field. So
I would say so too. Now I've been teaching a Greek class this semester. Not within the academy any longer because I'm not there, but in one of my Zoom classes, we're reading the Iliad, book 1.
Oh, nice.
We are about on line 318 or so forth. Let me just test this idea since we're taking kind of a leisurely stroll through the stocking stuffing here. I'm holding forth to this class, as I like to do, maintaining that the real crux of the issue in the Iliad and the conflict between Agamemnon and Achilles is the person who is naturally the best, Achilles, has to submit to the guy who's conventionally on top. So Agamemnon is only on top by convention.
Right.
That's nurture. People have decided he's the boss, but he's really not great, right? The great one is Achilles.
Yes.
And so here's the conflict. So what do you think about that thesis?
No, I buy that completely.
It's not original with me by any stretch. But
right.
Is that what Knox is kind of talking about in some ways?
I think yes. I mean, it's been a while since I've kind of used that in class and taught his ideas. But I mean, he talks a lot about kind of that pecking order, kind of the totem pole of heroism, and certainly kind of the abilities of Achilles in conflict with the recognized clout that Agamemnon has.
Right.
And the sense is that everybody kind of recognizes that Agamemnon he's a buffoon.
Right.
He's a fool.
And a bully.
He
only gets his way by threat of force.
Right. And it's only that because he comes from, the city that he comes from,
yes,
with its wealth and with its numbers, that he holds this position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so we're ready to move on to
Yes.
number 4?
Number 4, yes. I don't have a visual aid for this one.
Okay.
Because I don't listen to CDs or albums anymore. But
You only listen to the digital kind.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a subscription, and I don't use anything that you need to put anything else into. Anymore.
Did you get the year-end review
Year-end review?
for your subscription-based service?
No. What are you talking
Do you
about?
use Spotify?
No, I use, you're not going to like that, I use Apple Music.
I don't dislike Apple Music. I don't use it. Well, the Spotify on
Spotify.
Yeah, well, some people might be listening to this podcast on that platform.
That's right.
At the end of the year, they send you a big review of everything you've listened to, your most listened to songs. It's very interesting.
It is interesting. Yeah, I would love to see that. I think it. I jump around from many different platforms, so I don't know how useful that would be. If I was just a Spotifyer, that'd be more interesting.
We didn't Spotify. Is that how it goes?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it said that I listen to more music than 90% of the rest of the population.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, that speaks well of you.
I don't know. My number 1 album was a Mozart piano concerto.
Really?
Yes.
That was the one you listened to the most.
Apparently, yes.
Now, do you use
I didn't know that.
Is that just like
I'm
background
not
music
flaunting.
when you're like?
It is often background music when
Right.
I'm grading, when I'm translating,
Sure.
when I'm walking. Most listened to artist, though, was Paul Gilbert.
Okay, I can see that.
You can imagine.
I know that about you. Yes, that's excellent.
All right. So tell us about...
The album that I'm
Yes.
choosing to stuff into our listeners' stocking is "Synchronicity" by the Police.
All right. Synchronicity.
Synchronicity.
That's what I said.
Okay, all right.
Synchronicity.
Okay,
isn't,
all right.
isn't that what I said?
It used to make it sound like it's oh yeah, you're gonna take the highway past Synchronicity on your way to Cincinnati.
All right.
But this is, in my opinion, one of the great albums of all time. I think
For a classicist?
Well, let me get around to this. I think for anybody, first of all, I think it's the only album that I had bought as vinyl,
Yes.
as a cassette, as a CD, and listened to.
8-track?
I did not have the 8-track, right? So that's the one gap there.
Hmm.
But I bought this album several times.
Okay.
And so I think it's one of the great albums of all time. Have you listened to The Police's
I
Synchronicity?
probably have.
Yeah.
I'm not much of an album guy. If you
Okay.
could tell me the names of some of the
if
singles, I might know
sure,
them.
like Every Breath You Take.
Oh, yeah.
King of Pain.
Yes.
Yes, right. So it's a great album, and so I think it'll be a great gift for anybody. But it has classical references.
Well,
within
let's hear it.
Right? So, as the title might give away, it has lots of Jungian influence. Right. So the kind of the notion of synchronicity that loosely described that two things that seem to the naked eye to the
untrained eye,
the
perhaps?
untrained eye to the untrained ear might look like have nothing to do with each other. Actually, if we were able to peek underneath the veil, we would see they were deeply connected in terms of the collective unconscious. So, at this point in the career of Sting, lead singer, bass player for the Police, he was fascinated with these Jungian ideas, and he incorporated them into lots of these songs. So, lots of kind of mythical interpretation in these songs. One of the songs on the album, which is called Synchronicity 2, is in my top 5 songs of all time.
Okay.
And kind of the conceit in the song is that it talks about a family that's having lots of domestic trouble. The father's having a terrible time at work. There's trouble in the marriage. There's lots of screaming at the house.
It's a Euripidean kind of family.
Yes, very much. And it goes back and forth between these horrors happening with his family and a monster that's being awakened from a Scottish loch that eventually kind of comes out of the water and darkens the door.
Oh, this sounds terrible.
It's beautiful and horrific at the same time.
Beautiful and horrific.
Yes, I mean
how can that be?
The music, it's kind of a beautifully tragic.
Okay.
And the music itself is really kind of angular and jagged and nervous and high tempoed. I never fail to get an emotional reaction out of it when I listen to it.
Is that why you listen to music?
For a lot of my favorite music is the stuff that never fails to move me when I go back and again to it time and time again. There's Latin in this album.
Okay,
in
let's
the song
hear it.
Synchronicity 1, Sting sings of the Spiritus Mundi,
Oh,
the
yeah.
spirit of the world.
Right.
And there's also a classical reference in the song "Wrapped Around Your Finger," which was a minor hit.
You'll be wrapped around my...
Yeah.
I'll be wrapped around your finger.
Yes, right. So there's a great rhyme or a horribly pretentious rhyme, depending on your point of view. He sings, "You consider me the young apprentice, caught between a Scylla and Charybdis."
So Charybdis is made to rhyme with apprentice.
Apprentice, yeah. Might be a little bit stretched. I think it's Sting kind of showing off his, he's flexing a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's a daring rhyme.
It's just like, what is it? Kilimanjaro rises like Olympus
Above the Serengeti.
above the Serengeti.
This is much better than that. This is much better than that.
Okay.
All right. So,
Synchronicity is itself a Greek word, of course.
it is, yes. Time happening together, right?
Synchronon.
Happening at the same time, right? Yes. So, so lots of classical sprinklings throughout this.
Right.
I love the Jungian flavor of many of the songs, and so it's just great, well crafted, great pop music. Yeah.
All right, Jeff. So we're going to go on to number 5.
Number 5.
Let's hear it.
Yes. So this is just an incredible guidebook called Rome and Environs, an archaeological guide by Filippo Corelli.
An Italian, perhaps?
Yes, just a little bit. Right. So this is translated from originally in Italian, and it's an excellent English translation.
Okay.
But this is, on the one hand, it's a hardcore archaeological guide. It's absolutely comprehensive.
The kind of thing that Ken Bratt would really enjoy.
Yes, absolutely.
Hardcore.
Right? So it's divided up by areas within Rome. Each chapter ends with an itinerary that you might want to kind of walk through. And it's absolutely comprehensive in kind of detailing every building. So you get blueprints. He'll kind of walk you through each room.
You got your Domus Aurea.
Oh, yeah, big
You got
time.
your Campus Martius.
Yes, you got your baths of Caracalla.
You got your
Siberian Orchestra.
Oh, the Christmas theme.
Yeah, there
Nice
we go.
job.
Right.
You got your Trans-Tiberine area, right?
Yeah, and tons of stuff.
Transtevere. That's what I'm trying to say.
And tons of stuff as I've gone through this that you've never heard of. I mean, every stone is turned. Yes. So it's a hardcore, comprehensive guidebook, but it's also extremely accessible.
Okay.
And you can see my copy is all beat up.
Beaten indeed.
I've taken this everywhere. So
Yeah.
A lot of people will talk about in terms of like classical archaeology, like the Blue Guide is being your
Right. Or Foders.
Foders, right?
Foders is a little more touristy.
It is, right. And this one is, it's somewhere between Fyodor's and the Blue Guide, which I've often found a little bit too stuffy.
No, I want to go back.
Is your guy.
I want to go back to the itinerary question for just a minute, but let's talk about Rick Steves for a minute.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
What do you think about Rick Steves?
Oh, I mean, I have nothing against Rick Steves.
It's funny how you started out that. I have nothing against him.
No, I mean, he's kind of a cheese ball.
Okay.
He's kind of a nerdy dude who globetrots. And
The first time I went to Rome,
Yeah.
it was 2004. Traveled with a family, my wife and I, and our 2 kids at the time traveled with another family, and they were sold on Rick Steves.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, they wanted us to Rick Steve the whole thing.
There's kind of a cult of Rick Steves.
Exactly.
Or at least there was. Right?
Well, and I have to say one piece of advice from old Richard Steves that I didn't care for so much was, when you pack, he said, don't pack too many undergarments.
Oh, really?
Because you can wash them.
Oh.
Which seems to me really kind of backwards advice. Because the undergarments take up the least amount of space.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Pack lots and lots of pairs of jeans and large, bulky sweatshirts.
Right. Yeah.
So you're clambering through the forum with, all of this heavy stuff, but don't take too much undergarments.
Right.
Because you can wash them.
You found that advice just not a little
It's the
useful.
reverse. Remember when we went to Rome
Yeah.
in 2016?
I do very well.
Do you remember the T-shirt I gave you?
I don't.
Eat fresh. The Subway Eat Fresh.
Of course.
Yes, we went to the Salvation Army, Mrs. Noe and I, and what did we do? We picked out a number of $1 T-shirts.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Exactly, because then what did we do after we got to Italy? Do you remember this also?
I don't remember.
Wear it a day and donate it to the hotel staff.
That's right. That's exactly right. So that's a tip that Rick could use.
It could really. Now, some might say wasteful, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to me. The shirt can be reused some way.
Yeah.
It costs more to wash.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And a real nuisance. So
Yeah.
I was trying to follow the Aesop model, right?
Yeah.
You know the great story of Aesop in the army where everyone had to select something to carry. And Aesop selected the large basket of bread. And people said, Aesop, you're foolish. That's the heaviest item. But he was smarter than the rest.
How is he smart?
Well, because halfway through the journey, the basket was half as heavy, and by the end it was empty because the guys were eating the bread. See?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Then everybody they learned their lesson.
They learned. So, Rick, don't pack too much undergarments.
Man.
It's the smallest object.
Wow, it sounds you really have an axe to grind with Rick. It's like you've been waiting to kind of unload this.
No.
So
Corelli. Now,
Corelli, yeah.
Tell me about the itinerary. You said the end of each chapter or the end of each section on a part of Rome, he gives you a suggested itinerary?
Yeah, exactly. So like if you want to walk and kind of hit the highlights, right?
Okay.
Then this idea that if you don't want to see every inch of the cloaca maxima like I might, you might want to walk this way and hit these highlights.
You should tell the audience what cloaca maxima means.
It's
right?
the really big sewer.
Yes, it's the big stink.
The big stink, exactly. The ancient Roman sewer, parts of which are still in use in Rome. But yeah, Corelli, it threads that needle between. I mean, it's not touristy at all. I mean,
right.
you have to love archaeology to get into this at all, but it's accessible. And he says, the best way to experience this is to walk Rome.
Okay.
And he's right.
All right, Corelli. University of California, 2007.
Yes.
We can throw all these up on the screen. Mm-hmm. Do we do show notes still?
We're talking about a backlog of work. Yeah.
Talk about a cloaca maxima,
I think
right?
our last show notes goes back to like episode 40.
Yeah, it was 2011, something like that.
It's one of those things where I look at it and it's like it's almost too overwhelming to do that.
Okay.
But this would be a good show for show notes.
You're right.
Yeah.
Number six. Taking it in a different direction.
Right. I want to include different media in my suggestions. This is the kind of the cult classic 1981 Clash of the Titans movie, right? Which is a terrible movie.
This is the claymation.
The claymation is the stop action, kind of Medusa's snaky hair. It's Harry Hamlin as kind of a beefcake Perseus. Terrible actor. So why would I recommend this film?
Yes, I was just going to ask. Oh, wait a minute. I have a question.
Yes, please.
Why would you recommend this film?
Oh, okay. I recommend this film, not so much for the film itself, but I want to encourage our audience to find their own Clash of the Titans. And what I mean by that is...
now, come on.
No, listen,
you're going to sneak some liminality in here
No, not at all.
Okay.
But this film, I saw it in the theater when I think I was 10.
Okay.
My mom, against all wisdom, took me to see this film.
All parental guidebooks. Don't take your son to Clash of the Titans.
Exactly. She took me...
Wasn't there frontal nudity in that?
There was... I think there was some dorsal nudity.
Okay. We don't want to talk about that. It's like a dolphin or something?
Something like that. Yeah,
all right.
Nude dolphins everywhere. But as a 10-year-old kid, I loved it. I was entranced, and I was obsessed with Perseus and the story of Medusa. And so I often look back at this. This is one of those signposts in my life where this really bad piece of pop culture turned me towards something that I loved and continue to love.
So if your mother had taken you to The Godfather, you would have ended up living a life of organized crime?
It's possible.
Okay.
It's quite possible, right?
An impressionable 10-year-old?
Exactly right. I mean, I'd be making my parents, offers the cuteness. I'm not necessarily recommending this movie.
All right.
But I think sometimes we underestimate the power of even bad pop culture to turn folks on a decent path. And this is one of those for me.
We underestimate the power of bad pop culture to turn folks onto a decent path.
Yes.
Interesting.
Hey, do you buy that? It just kind of fell out of my mouth.
Yeah. I don't know. My relationship to pop culture is, shall we say, fraught.
I know this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I consume a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I have a sticky kind of mind, so things I'd rather not remember, I can't forget.
I see.
But then I realize, things about pop starlets and people whose names I hear in the news, I'd really rather not know that stuff.
Yeah.
But in order to survive as a person, you can't avoid all of it, really.
It's inescapable.
Correct. But I'd rather not have my mind clogged up with, whose album did this, and because it's just kind of so ephemeral and vain.
So you say even the idea that there might be kind of a needle in the haystack worth finding.
Correct.
All the other garbage kind of cancels it out. Yeah.
Maybe if I were better at forgetting all the garbage.
Gotcha.
But it sticks. That's the issue.
Right.
Right. If I go to the dentist and I read People magazine because I'm bored and I can't just sit there and do nothing because I have to be mentally active.
Right.
I can't forget that stuff.
Right. So now you know what kind of haircut Scarlett Johansson has.
Right. And I don't want to know that stuff.
No, nobody needs to know that stuff. Right.
But it's I don't dispute your main point.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking out loud. I mean, for me, it was one of these moments in my childhood where I look back now and say, wow, that really had an impact on me. And, I've seen that movie on in the later years on cable and watch bits
Yeah.
and pieces, and it's terrible.
And you think, how could I have ever loved that so much?
Right. But to see it through the eyes of that 10-year-old kid, it's like, oh yeah, that it sparked a curiosity.
Let's go on to number 7.
Number 7.
This is it's a little surprising.
A little surprising, right? So this one is just Twizzlers. I recommend Twizzlers. It would fit nice in the stocking.
You had to be so dramatic
I know.
with the reach and the crinkle.
It's a low-fat snack. Yeah, I got the jumbo pack here. But the reason this is really the reason that I brought this to the table,
so to speak.
But there's kind of a story behind this. So whenever I would do road trips with the Winkle family when I was a kid, my mom would always buy a pack of Twizzlers in the car.
So this is a nostalgia.
It's a bit of nostalgia,
stuffer.
Right? And at one point it was 10 road trips under our belts, and my brother finally asked, Mom, we weren't crazy about Twizzlers.
I can tell you why.
It's fine.
I know why it is.
Why?
It shuts you up. Right? You ever try to talk while you're twizzling?
Well, my brother and I were very taciturn.
Were you taciturn?
Yeah, not talking. So it wasn't that. Well, the explanation my mother gave is, it keeps you regular.
Oh no!
Right. So, travel can do a number on the GI.
A cloaca maxima. Once
exactly
again,
right.
Huh?
And so she says, no, this helps. And so
that is not true.
It probably is not.
What's this? How many grams of fiber?
I'm not even gonna look on the back because I don't want to know. But my mother claimed it had a surprising source of fiber.
Yeah, that Mrs. Winkle.
Yeah, and I've continued this in my own family. We bring Twizzlers on the road trips.
Shall I ask about the digestive consequences?
That's neither here nor there.
Okay.
But I give my kids the same explanation of why we.
It's good for your digestion.
That's exactly right. So it's a tradition that I carry on. Right? Yes.
Can I ask perhaps a personal question?
Yes.
Not about digestion.
Okay, please. Thank you.
I live here in West Michigan, amid the Dutch.
Yes.
It's my experience that Dutch people love candy. They love candy.
I think that's very true.
I have extended family members who feel about Twizzlers the same way you do, and it can't be a coincidence.
I think there's something to that. I mean, there's that weird Dutch love for black licorice. Which
with anise.
Yes, which I've never gotten into. My mother-in-law loves it. She's as Dutch as they come. But I think you're right. There is something about Dutch people and their candy and their mints and their
and their
peppermints
sweets, right? They're injecting horn pastries after all.
Exactly right.
But the candy seems to be specific to certain cultures, and it's not my background. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. So maybe that's where the Twizzlers. If you wanted to dig deep, there's something.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
So now, was that too personal?
No, that's fine.
So now we're going to go from something sweet to something even sweeter.
Sweeter, yes.
Which is number 8.
The Oxford Classical Dictionary. Right. I think I have a copy here.
Drum roll.
Yep.
There it is.
This is
Simon Hornblower.
Yes. Well, this edition is edited by John Roberts.
John Roberts, the Supreme Court Justice.
Yeah, exactly right. In his spare time.
In the news much lately.
Yes, very much. So this is I think for anybody interested in classics, this is a must-have.
Read us an entry. Just open it at random.
Okay. Open it
at random.
All right. All right. This is the
untwizzle and read us an entry.
Yeah, this is the entry for the use latii.
Use latii.
The Latin rite refers primarily to the legal status of those Latins who, after 338 BC, shared the right of marriage and commerce with Romans. Latins settling in Rome acquired Roman citizenship, and vice versa. That's pithy entry.
Succinct.
Yes.
To the point.
But the fact that it would have kind of a small entry on this little...
That's pretty comprehensive.
It's pretty comprehensive. This was a book when I was starting to prepare for my qualifying exams in graduate school. My advisor said, keep a copy of this in the loo with you. Oh, yeah, have it there.
Just a British individual?
He was.
Okay.
Yes. And he says, just keep it there in the loo, and when you're in there, pick it up. And just thumb through it and just read it. Let it soak in.
Exactly. Yep. Loo is actually short for lavatorium.
Is that right?
Yes, crazy, huh?
How did that happen?
I don't know, but the British would come up with a word like a lavatorium and then shorten it to loo.
Of course they would.
Right.
Yeah,
OCD, you can't miss it. The Oxford Classical Dictionary, fantastic. I have an older edition.
You do?
I inherited from someone. It's worth its weight in gold, there's no doubt.
Yep.
Number 9?
Number 9, a little bit more lighthearted.
Okay.
This is Larry Gonick, the cartoonist and humorist. His series, The Cartoon History of the Universe.
All right.
So I have volumes 8 through 13 here.
8 through 13.
8 through 13 kind of
medieval
here.
period, or where are we?
This is it's from the springtime of China to the fall of Rome.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
It is.
Springtime of China. When was that?
Well, I don't even know my.
So the
Chinese
fall
history.
of Rome. So the fall of Rome, say 480.
Uh-huh.
I know people say Rome never fell, but come on, it's just shorthand for things changed a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, that irritates me when people.
It does too. You know, Rome actually never fell.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened to the Roman Empire?
Yeah, wise guy.
Right.
That's right. Right. So this is great. I mean, this is I especially recommend Volume 1. Which has a lot of the great Greek stuff in there. And so kind of his version of Thermopylae and Marathon and Socrates and Plato. It's just wonderful. It's laced with really kind of barbed, kind of sarcastic humor, but it's very well researched and the drawings are great. Yep. So
Excellent.
From child to adult.
Well, we got to get on to numbers 10 and 11 here because we're a little overdue for the break, aren't we?
We got to get moving.
All right.
So we can go through these quickly.
We still have my 25.
I know we got all 40 of yours to get through. So number 10 is something you might stuff into your digital stocking.
Oh.
There's this guy from Reading University over there in the UK by the name of Matthew Nichols, who I've gotten to know a little bit via email.
You know Matthew Nichols?
Well, just from email exchanges. We're
Right.
both interested in the same thing right now, is that kind of digital recreations of ancient sites.
Yeah.
And this guy is fantastic.
No, I think who's the fellow down in Brisbane? Is that Roy?
Roy?
No, Ron.
Ron, or
Ron
our
is
fan.
Yes, down in Brisbane.
Yes.
He's going to listen. He's going to call us out, and he's going to say it's Reading.
Reading, sorry.
He's going to give us so much grief,
Sorry.
like the railroads, on
Yes,
Monopoly.
exactly right.
B&O.
Right. B&O Railroad.
B&O.
B.O.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
I think it's Reading. But anyway,
So I Americaned all over
I'm
that
just
thing.
trying
Yes.
to avoid the wrath of Ron.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Ron. Right. But he has been for the last 10 years or so building a kind of a full-scale digital replica of Rome.
That's incredible.
It's amazing. And so we could put the
link?
the link on the screen. We
put
could
it right here.
Yeah. And check it out. And
Now, are you going to wear the virtual goggles and such? Is that coming at some point?
It is.
We can walk around Rome.
That's kind of what he's aiming for ultimately. But it's searchable. You can kind of, using your arrow keys or your mouse, you can just kind of walk through Rome, and it's incredible the detail of it. And he continues to kind of build it into bigger and into more detailed space. Yeah.
If the camera pans over Augustus, you can see him holding a little bit of Alexander's nose, for example.
Oh man, if it only had that much detail.
Connecting to another episode.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. So no, he's a great guy, and he's doing. I think this is. I love it when we have classes just kind of riding waves of technology in interesting ways that have become kind of really useful teaching tools.
Exactly.
And this is amazing.
And number 11?
Number 11, I threw in there. Umberto echoes The Name of the Rose.
Great novel.
I love a great kind of historical mystery.
It's a whodunit.
And I think it's a kind of a subgenre that's really hard to do well, right? I can't stand Dan Brown.
Well, there goes
Da Vinci
having
Code.
him on as a guest.
Yeah, so I don't. Sorry, Dan. Sorry, Ron, if you're a Dan Brown fan. But this is one of the greats, The Name of the Rose, and the classical hook is that it centers around a copy of Aristotle's lost work
Treatise
on comedy.
On comedy.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I don't recommend the movie version.
I like the movie.
It was okay, but I mean the book is fabulous.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, that's it. So those are 11 things to stuff in your stocking.
Yes.
For you or the classicist you love.
That's right.
All right.
But now we got to get to the break.
We got to get to the break. This episode of Ad Nauseam is brought to you by Hackett Publishing with offices, Jeff, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Hackett has been providing wonderful classical resources to the reading public for more than 40 years.
More than 40 years, right? They've been with us, with this show from the very beginning.
More than a year.
More than a year.
Right.
They believed in us. They gave us a shot, and they're still with us.
They believed in us when nobody knew about us.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So we're incredibly thankful to them.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know both of us have used a lot of their translations in our personal libraries and in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Yep.
They sent us some great copies of Ovid's Metamorphoses.
Yeah.
The Ambrose and the Lombardo.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep. So they've grown my own personal library.
Yes.
And their website is really interesting. I just noticed recently they're starting to host virtual author meets.
Right.
And so ways to kind of get to know kind of behind the scenes stuff from a lot of their translators. And they have a massive catalog.
Massive.
Right.
Everything you could want in the classics. Language study. They've got the Lingua Latina per se illustrata. The fantastic translations. Latin American studies, Asian studies.
Yep.
Old Norse, pretty much everything.
Everything. It's great.
So, listener.
Yeah, so if you want to take advantage of our special offer, you go to hackettpublishing.com.
HACKETT. We're going to put it up on the screen here.
Yep. Find the books that you want, slip them into your grocery bag on screen, and then what's the code they type in?
There's a code. It's AN, which is ad nauseum 2021.
AN 2021, and that will get you 20% off anything you order.
Right.
And free shipping.
And if you're listening to this episode when the year turns over, right, which is going to happen very soon, we're going to have another coupon code, which we don't want to give it away, but it's going to be AN and then the 4 digits of the new year.
Of the new year, right. So
keep a little mystery in there.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Very little
Very
mystery.
mystical, yes. Yeah, so don't hesitate, check it out.
That's right. Jeff, who else is bringing this episode?
Ratio Coffee.
Ratio Coffee.
Yes, so Mark Helwig and his crack team way out there in Portland, Oregon, I believe, where a lot of good coffee comes from.
That's true.
Yeah.
A lot of good things come out of Portland. Now, Portland's been in the news a lot lately, but later on in this episode, when we get around to my stocking stuffers.
Oh, there's Portland themed
There's
stuff
another
coming?
Portland thing coming up.
Ooh,
That's
excellent,
right.
excellent. Yes. Well, Ratio Coffee, they have these excellent coffee machines. I have the Ratio 6. You have the Ratio 8.
I do.
They're more than machines. They're works of art.
Absolutely. They have a sleek, modern aesthetic. Everything is neat and tight. No extraneous or rococo features.
Nope.
Just thin, sharp lines.
Yeah. It's very attractive. I've got the stainless steel 6 with its weighty carafe.
You could put plutonium in there,
Absolutely.
somebody said once.
And you've got, is it oyster?
Mine is an oyster, which matches my cabinets. I got to pick the color. Mark said, hey, you want a Ratio 8? This was even before we were podcasting.
Wow.
So I'll take one of those. Yeah, let's do it.
Man.
And put it on the counter there. Oyster with walnut accents. I had a great pot of coffee this morning.
Yeah, as did I. Every morning, I love coming down, hitting that button. It goes through its bloom. It goes through the brew. It gets to the ready stage.
Yep. The LED lights are like magic.
Yep. And I know that I'm in there's a great cup of coffee waiting for me.
Automatic pour over technology. So better than you would get at some cafe and convenience right in your own home.
That's right.
So we have a great coupon code. If you are a listener or a viewer, go to Ratio Coffee, RATIO coffee.com, enter coupon code ANCO.
Yes.
And you'll get 15% off the 6 or the 8.
Either of them. Yep.
And if you continue listening to the episode, we're going to sneak in a little coffee reference later.
Yes.
And it's going to be a 4-digit number that you're going to want to visit ratiocoffee.com/ANCO.
Okay.
So that you can be entered to win a free.
Ratio 6.
That's right.
Yes.
Enter the new year not drinking any more bilge water.
This is huge. Keep listening. All right, Dave, as we get back into it, we've got to get to your list of
Yes, we do.
67 things.
67
How
things.
long are we going to be here?
Oh, my goodness. It's
Yeah.
going to be a long night.
Right, so what's number 1 on your list?
Number 1, I don't actually have a copy of the book, but I have a little bit of text to read. Mine are a lot of books.
A lot of books?
Yours turned out to be a lot of books too, as it happens.
But I mean, what
we're
would-
readers.
We're readers.
Of course.
Exactly right.
These are not going to fit in your stocking, but I read a very interesting book this past year in 2021. It's called St. Cyril of Alexandria and the Christological Controversy.
Now, it sounds like a murder mystery.
It does.
Yes.
It does. Actually, it is kind of a whodunit. It was written by a pretty well-known scholar, John Anthony McGuckin.
Okay.
Came out in 2010. It went through a reprint. And it tells the story. This actually is Christmas themed. It tells the really fascinating story of the conflict between Cyril of Alexandria and Nestorius.
Okay.
And the question is, who is Jesus Christ? Is he partly human and partly divine, like, say, Hercules? Is he one of several sons of God? Is he the sole son of God? And does he have a fully human nature, fully divine nature? I mean, these are Christmas elements,
Yeah.
right?
Now, does this kind of anticipate the kind of the filioque controversy down the line? Or
It anticipates it in the sense that it's a very significant theological controversy, but it's dealing with a different controversy,
Okay.
really. And it came to a head in 431 at the Council of Ephesus. And this guy, Cyril, what a brilliant theologian. And what he had to do was he had to recalibrate a lot of Greek terminology that they were using to try to describe the persons of the Trinity. So you had terms like hypostasis and ousia, right? And these terms, and to prosopon, these are terms that describe the different persons of the Trinity. And, they were working in 2 languages and with 300 years of tradition. So which Greek term is equivalent to which Latin term?
Yeah.
And is there some kind of error being sneaked in underneath a different Latin term like persona? What exactly is the relationship here? So I found this an absolutely brilliant
It sounds like this
read.
could be an episode.
I would like to make it one, actually. It would take a bit of work because not only are the ideas inherently complicated, but I guess they're also inherently complicated. So it would take a lot of work to present it. But it's really a brilliant book. I'd like to read just a couple quick quotes.
Please.
This is actually from page 1. So Cyril of Alexandria was not only one of the finest Christian theologians of his day, he also stands out in the ranks of the greatest patristic writers of all generations as perhaps the most powerful exponent of Christology the Church has known. And after Athanasius, the writer who has had the greatest historical influence on the articulation of this most central and seminal aspect of Christian doctrine.
Wow. That's high praise.
It's really high praise.
Right.
Yep.
And it's shocking that Cyril isn't more of a kind of a household name.
He's not.
Even in Christian circles.
No, he's hardly known.
Yeah.
But so important to explaining that Jesus Christ is 100% God, 100% man, and the 2 natures were inseparably joined.
Yeah.
So it centers around the question of theotokos. Did Mary give birth to God? And Cyril said, yes. She gave birth to God, not a human being that became God or was treated like God. She actually gave birth to God.
And his rival, who's
Nestorius.
The Nestorius.
Right.
What was his kind of?
Well,
his
you've
line?
got the Nestorians and the Eutychians, right? And these are the opposite sides of the Christological error, right? One saying that Jesus has a fully divine nature, but some kind of a subordinated or less than fully human nature.
Yeah.
And the other guilty of the reverse error. And it was, a lot of conflict and struggle to get to, what has come to be the Orthodox position.
Did it come to fisticuffs?
It did not, but in some places almost. Cyril was quite a great theologian. One other just really quick quote from this book that he was unique. Let me see if I can find here the quote. He was almost unique among Greek fathers, this is page 4, for having even a little knowledge of the Latin tradition. And if he was not bilingual himself, he certainly saw to it as a scholarly archbishop, that the important materials he sent to Rome for Pope Celestine were quickly and accurately translated into Latin before they left his hometown of Alexandria. He cites Cyprian and Ambrose, so 2 Latin fathers, as his authorities. So that's one of the really interesting things about the book, is that this is the time when the empire is kind of starting to split along linguistic lines.
Right.
Everyone in the West is speaking Latin. Everyone in the East is speaking Greek.
Exactly.
Eventually the church splits, right? Cyril's at that hinge moment.
Gotcha. Fascinating. What do you got for number 2?
Number 2. This is the Bantam New College Latin and English Dictionary.
What's wrong with the old one?
It was a bantamweight, let me tell you. So this is by the great scholar John C. Traupman,
Okay.
whom we call Traupveer.
Troutveer?
Traupveer.
Oh,
right.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a Latin word for man, right? So I started using this in grad school. I don't know if it was maybe the 4th edition or something. This is such an incredible bargain as a Latin dictionary.
Okay.
I think it cost $5.99.
Wow.
I went through 3 of these. I wore out 3 of them. And, this is probably the humble brag, right?
Yeah.
But once I got to the 3rd one, I didn't really need it as much because I had just toiled over it, for so long. But
It was no longer a crutch.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes, nice connection.
Yeah.
It is such an amazingly idiomatic dictionary.
Now, what? Explain that. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm going to give some examples
Okay.
here from the actual text. But if you're the kind of person who wants to translate Latin words by derivatives, like actus must mean act, right? And a word like derivo, derivare, to flow down from, you want to translate it as derive, right? Or sileo, silere, to be quiet. You want to translate it as silent. This dictionary will break you of that bad habit.
Gotcha.
Because he doesn't just go for derivative translations. He actually gets at the heart of what the word means.
Now, was this recommended to you, or did you just pick it up?
I think I probably bought it. Maybe it was recommended by a grad school professor, but I think I maybe got it for the price.
It's $5.99. That's hard to resist.
But it's a gold mine.
Yeah.
It's a gold mine. So here, let me give just a couple examples. Okay. I just picked a page at random, and here's the entry on octium. So octium, octii, and then a little n for neuter. A promontory in Epirus. Okay, so assumes a little bit of knowledge, right? The meaning of the word promontory, so it's not dumbing it down, but also assumes a little knowledge of Epirus, right? So you go to your OCD, your John Roberts.
Exactly right.
But then it gives a very brief and pithy description, the place where Octavian defeated Antony and Cleopatra in 31 BC.
Yes, which you and I...
We visited there. That's right.
In 2011.
I have a blurry picture from the bus. Right after that, though, there is a fairly rare word that you'd be surprised to find in a $5.99 dictionary.
Hey, what do we got there?
Octiuncula.
That's a short law court speech.
Yes, a short law court speech. An octiuncula. So you got the derivative. He divides all the words up with little dots and so forth, so you can see the word's formation.
Yeah.
And then a little further down, we have octuariolum or octuariolum, a small, fast boat. So these are not the most common words, but it's printed on fairly thin, inexpensive paper, packed with lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
And then right after that, we have octum, act, deed, transaction. Transaction, that's a good, sophisticated word to represent the word octum.
Yeah.
And so I love this dictionary.
This is great.
Now, a little bit of a riddle. The back of the dictionary, the blurb, there is a kind of an error. It's not Troutman's error. I think it's the person who designed the back cover.
Yeah.
So Bantam, if you're listening, check out the blurb of the back because there is an error in there that hardly anybody notices, but I spotted it. And it's not an error in the representation of the words. It's an error in how they are ordered.
Oh, okay. Have you haven't given them a call yet?
No. They don't want to hear from me.
And this book is still in print.
Yes. Oh yeah. $5.99 on Amazon.
Man.
It's a maybe $6.99, but it's a fantastic bargain. It will break you of the habit of translating in a stilted fashion without sacrificing accuracy.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Number three,
anything written by the late J.N.D. Kelly.
Now come on, anything?
Well, anything that I've read thus far.
All right. First of all, this guy's too many initials. That's a little suspect.
He's sus. A little sketch,
yeah.
J.N.D. Kelly, I don't know what it stands for. John something.
You're a fan.
Huge fan.
Okay, tell us
why. So in the past couple of years, I have read his classic Early Christian Doctrines, 1977. Really brilliant overview of how early Christian doctrines developed. And then I read his Golden Mouth, the story of John Chrysostom. This was published in 1995.
You got that one with you there?
I do. It looks just like this. Golden Mouth, the story of John Chrysostom. I'd like to read a little bit of a quote.
Yes.
This is quite a fascinating little bit. This is from page number 210. So, John Chrysostom, a hero of mine, Greek theologian, preacher, churchman, monk, ascetic, you name it, he did it. He got into quite a bit of a trouble at the end of his life, and he actually was excommunicated and then exiled, sent packing, brought back because he was so popular, and then exiled a second time.
Oh, man.
And on that second exile, he died.
Okay.
All this revolves around something called the Synod of the Oak.
Okay.
Doesn't that sound kind of fascinating?
Synod of the Oak.
Synod of the Oak. That's the sequel
very
right there.
Right.
So there was another fellow named Epiphanius. Epiphanius was the expert. He was a heresy hunter, and our former colleague, Young Kim, is a world expert.
He was a Cypriot, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
In this fellow Epiphanius, Epiphanius of Cyprus or Salamis. So, when Epiphanius left Constantinople around the time of this controversy, he, quote, sent John, that's our guy, Chrysostom, a note expressing the unkindly wish, I hope you will be no longer a bishop when you die.
Wow.
In other words, I hope you get kicked out before you die. John's riposte was, before you die. John's riposte was, so it was said, equally unfriendly. And I hope you will not set foot in your city again.
Man.
So I hope you don't get to sail home successfully, die at sea.
Man, they're throwing it down.
Right. Well, Kelly says, we need not take the anecdote literally, but it illustrates the intense rancor which public opinion assumed must exist between the two men. Because at that time, they were theological opponents.
Yeah.
Interesting fact, though, to connect it to the previous book, the McGuckin book, Cyril of Alexandria was on the wrong side of that. He actually was a critic of John Chrysostom because his uncle, Cyril's uncle, was the Bishop of Alexandria. Oh. And later, Cyril had to say, well, I guess I was wrong about that, because within 20 years, Chrysostom's reputation was completely resuscitated.
Yeah.
He went from goat to hero, skunk to hero within 20 years.
Yeah.
And became one of the most important Greek fathers.
I love this idea, this notion that he was called back from exile because he was so popular, right? Only to be exiled again.
Yes, well, the people loved him, and he got himself in trouble because he was criticizing the royal family. He used to preach these sermons against excessive luxury. And the queen, Eudoxia, said, the queen mother, the empress, Eudoxia said, he's talking about me. He's talking about, we just want to go to church and hear him preach with his great oratory. And he would just lay into the rich and say, you got too much. These people are starving.
Yeah.
And so they found a way to get him, to push him out. So then just a couple other quick ones from Kelly is the Athanasian Creed. This is also a whodunit. Nobody knows who wrote this.
What?
I don't mean the Kelly book.
Oh.
Nobody knows who wrote the Athanasian Creed.
Right. So not Athanasius?
No, way too late. It could be Rufinus of Aquileia. He's one of the suspects. So Kelly goes through all of the arguments. He says that the Latin of the Creed shows some, late Latin elements creeping in. It's not classical. He probably says it's from Southern Gaul, but still nobody knows who the author was.
Does he suggest someone, or does he just...
I'm not going to give it away.
Right. You got to read the book.
It wasn't the butler who wrote the Athanasian Creed, I'll tell you that.
All right.
But it is a gripping story. It's a fascinating, and I really enjoyed it. Last one.
Yep.
This will be in episode 2.
Okay.
So this is his biography of St. Jerome, also by J.N.D. Kelly. Now, I am not a big fan of Jerome.
Right.
I've run him down a number of times, which is probably not very kind of me, right? Because I have this official, policy of being kind to the dead. Yeah. I make an exception for Jerome, I suppose. But one really interesting element in here is the controversy between Jerome and Augustine.
Okay.
So they wrote each other a number of letters, and Augustine was the younger man. He was always trying to make friends with Jerome and trying to reach some kind of rapprochement, right? So, interesting little fact. Jerome's translating the Bible from Hebrew into Latin. Augustine writes him a letter and says, you shouldn't do that. Let's stick with the Septuagint. Let's stick with the translation of the Bible that comes from the Greek Septuagint. Okay. Because that's what all the people know. And Jerome said, no. My version from the Hebrew is going to be much more accurate. Eventually, Augustine said, yeah, you're right. I was wrong on that. Your version translated from the Hebrew, not from the Greek, is going to be a better version. And I was just off on that. However, Jerome wrote a commentary on the book of Galatians. Okay. And in that, he said that the conflict between Peter and Paul, where Paul denounces Peter publicly, Jerome says they just staged that. None of that was real. They just put that, because the two main apostles could never actually argue about doctrine, was Jerome's idea. They just pretended to argue.
So some kind of publicity stunt?
Yeah, well, to teach the church about conflict. Okay. And Augustine just very delicately and tactfully, but strongly said, you're off your rocker. Yeah. This has to be an actual conflict. Otherwise, the apostles are, they're lying.
They're frauds.
Exactly. Yeah. And boy, Jerome did not like that.
Well, Jerome didn't seem to like a lot of anything. He's a grumpy guy.
Yeah. So you'd think I would like him, exactly, right? I'd be drawn to the grumpy guy.
Right, but no.
It's hard for me to warm up to Jerome. Yeah. But this Kelly book, brilliant. All right.
Very cool. What's next?
Number 4. Yes. Also a book.
Okay, this is The Art of Teaching by, is this your favorite Gilbert?
This is one of my favorite Gilberts.
Yes.
Gilbert Hyatt.
Okay.
The Art of Teaching, and we got to do an episode on this as well.
All right.
1950. Now, I'm not a student of pedagogy. You never took education classes either.
Nope.
How do they let us in the classroom when we've never studied education?
I have no idea.
All I've studied is the things I'm supposed to teach.
Right. Do you ever feel like a fraud?
Yes. Ever? Do I ever not feel like a fraud is the question. So The Art of Teaching. I read this book. I believe Karen Green recommended it to me. And Gilbert, or Gil, as I call him, says you need three things to be a good teacher. You need memory, kindness, and willpower. Willpower.
Yeah.
Yeah, memory. Because Hyatt says to be a good teacher, you have to have a comprehensive knowledge of your subject.
Yeah, okay.
Develop a good memory.
Yes.
Then he says kindness. You have to actually love your students and love the content. Well, I'm 1 for 2 there. I won't tell you which one. But then he says you need willpower also.
Now, where does this come in? How does that
Well, the willpower is you have to love the students and the subject so much that you will supply motivation when they don't have it.
Ah, okay.
And you will never let your own motivation flag.
Wow, okay.
Never be a fraud. In other words, when you go into the classroom, if you don't love what you're doing, you got to pause and say, there's something wrong with me. I gotta really think this is valuable.
Yes.
And that kind of willpower allows you to avoid a lot of the, can I have extra credit? And, the kind of things that would normally bring you down. You just got to push through them.
Yeah.
Now, I used this in a job interview once.
You did?
Yes.
How'd that go?
Oh, I got offered the job, if you can believe it.
Oh, that's awesome. Right. Do you think it was Gil coming to the rescue?
I don't know what it was,
Yeah.
but I actually never worked at this place.
Oh.
But I did get offered the job. And the dean said, how do you approach teaching? And I said, well, let me tell you about Gilbert Hyatt, memory, kindness, and willpower. And she looked at me and said, willpower? Are you crazy? I said, no, just hear me out. And I explained it, and got offered the job.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So that's highly recommended.
Definitely. Yeah. It sounds like a great episode. We got to do.
I think we'd enjoy that. Number 5.
Number 5?
Candles.
Just candles?
Candles.
Yeah.
I like candles.
Okay.
I like to have something lit while I'm studying. I like the flicker, the warm glow.
What about how about the scented candles?
Yes.
Do you have a favorite scent?
I don't know. Kind of a guilty pleasure is the scented candles, I have to admit. I can't quite break down and go Yankee. Those are a little too steep for a classicist's budget.
I hear you.
Not sure they'll fit in a stocking.
They're huge.
But those are great candles, you know. I go for the 1 wick, the 2, maybe even the 3 wick.
Yeah.
I like the scented ones. Oftentimes, it's something a little autumnal.
Yeah.
Fall spice,
gotcha.
something like that. I don't mind the vanillas, right? Lately, it's been kind of beach themed.
Really?
Yeah.
In the fall, winter here?
Bahama breeze, things like that. I'm not making this up.
It smells like the beach. Smells
you see,
salty, briny.
It's the life of isolated labor. Right. If you're laboring in isolation, my translating and writing work and such, it's isolated. So I got to have little things like the music, some kind of sensory stimulation or distraction to keep the mind focused.
I got you.
That's all.
I got you. Excellent. Hey, should we slip in that coffee information right here? Okay. So if our listeners go to, what's the website again? It's
ratiocoffee.com/ANCO.
And for the contest to win the Ratio 6, if they type in 6567.
That's correct.
Yep. And you put in your information there, you will be registered for the grand prize.
6567.
Yes. All right, Dave, number 6.
Number 6 is another book.
Okay.
This was written by my friend Charles Hill, Oxford, 2012. It's another church history, New Testament kind of theme. I'm not going to talk much about it, but the title is Who Chose the Gospels? Probing the Great Gospel Conspiracy.
So this is kind of how did the books in the New Testament find their way into the New Testament?
The 4 in particular, the Gospels.
The Gospels,
right,
okay.
The first 4.
Yeah.
And he's taking aim at the very well-known New Testament scholar Bart Ehrman.
Okay.
And he's taking aim at the idea, which he says, I think persuasively, is false, that the Gospels were chosen by a committee of the church against the will of the congregations, and it's the Dan Brown kind of idea.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
And just foisted it on everybody else.
Right.
And his basic thesis is, look, from the very earliest times of the church, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were, in fact, based on the best scholarship, were widely accepted. It's not that there were no competitors. It's just that the story, which has been so popular the last 30 years, that it's all just a power play, to force orthodoxy on unwilling people.
Right, and then these other gospels, like the Gospel of Thomas, were kind of
unfairly kicked to the side.
Yes, exactly, dismissed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hill says that's just not good scholarship.
Yeah.
It's implausible. It's a quick read. It's really well written. I liked it.
That sounds great.
Yep.
Yep. Number 7?
Number 7.
Yeah.
My favorite Gilbert musician. This is Paul Gilbert.
Paul Gilbert, yes.
The guitar player extraordinaire. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
I like so much of his instrumental stuff. He used to play for Mr. Big, Racer X. So he has a new album. I like to listen to it on Spotify. It's called Werewolves of Portland. Paul's a clever guy. He's a funny guy.
Very funny guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quirky.
I like watching some of his tutorials on YouTube.
Yes.
And just his interactions with the audience. He's hysterical.
Yes. He doesn't take himself seriously. He is just such a phenomenal musician, but without any pretension.
Yeah. And I love that about him too. I think he had an album not so long ago. It was like Get Off My Lawn or something.
Yes. Get out of my yard.
Get out of my yard. That's right.
What it was.
That's
Get
right.
out of my yard.
Yeah.
Hey, you kids, get out of my yard.
But I love this Werewolves of Portland.
Werewolves of Portland.
There's the Portland.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, okay.
My favorite track on the album is "It's Impossible to Have an Argument About Pie." My daughter and I listen to that. It's impossible to have an argument about.
No, is this
pie.
an instrumental track? Or does it
It's
have
all
the-
instrumental,
Okay.
but he has written some lyrics that he doesn't sing, and then so you can play them in your mind. Kind of. It's a lot of fun.
Right. Do you think that's true? Is it impossible to have an argument?
I
about
tried
pie?
to pick an argument with Paul about pie.
Yeah.
He hasn't responded yet.
Okay, so
I've tried.
we'll see.
Yeah, I said, pumpkin, waste of crust. Yeah, apple, good. See?
Yeah.
I did it. There's an argument.
He's
right
arguing,
there.
but he's not taking.
He's
it up,
not
though.
taking the bait.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, I love Gilbert too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 8.
No, more music here.
Yes, more music. Any Haydn piano sonatas.
Really?
I love Haydn.
What is it about Haydn that you like?
Just the beauty of the melody, endless creativity. I listen to a lot of Haydn, so mostly Haydn, a little Bach, some Beethoven and Mozart, but Haydn and instrumental guitar music.
Okay.
Anything that has virtuosity, that's highly structured, up-tempo, and just gorgeous melody.
Yeah.
But these piano sonatas, especially the one in A-flat major.
Okay.
Hoboken, number 16. Hoboken is the catalog, and the guy that cataloged all of Haydn's works. It's just divine. The music is phenomenal.
What's can you ballpark his dates? Like when was Haydn?
I'm probably going to get it wrong, but late 18th century. I'm going to say around. I could have just looked it up, but say 1760 to 1820. So he overlapped with Mozart.
And then Beethoven a little bit,
so
maybe.
He lived at the end of Bach's life and at the beginning or middle of Mozart and Beethoven's lives.
Okay.
I can't say enough good about Haydn. Just endlessly inventive as a musician.
So does he show up in your end of the year spot of the Spotify?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah. I love Haydn. Reginald Foster, the late Latinist, said that if Haydn and Cicero are not in heaven, he's not going.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I can't go that far, but Haydn's music is divine. It's just incredibly beautiful.
Fantastic.
And number 9.
Number 9, what do we got?
Also for your classicist, African violets.
The flower.
Yeah.
What about that? What about
You got
these?
something against it?
No, I have some in my house.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting story. And I'm
Okay.
going to read here from this website, Architesica.com. Architesica. It's in the genus Streptocarpus. See, we got some Latin in there. And the species is Streptocarpus ioananthus.
Okay.
Which will be some Greek, as we'll see in a minute. So it was discovered in 1892 by the Baron Walter von St. Paul, the German governor of a part of Tanzania. Von St. Paul found the plant growing among shaded rocky ledges in the Usambara Mountains. He immediately sent seeds of his Usambara violet to his father in Germany. In Germany, the plant acquired a botanical name which it still bears today, Sampaulia. Named after the Baron von St. Paul, right? The African violet was brought to North America by a California firm in 1926, so it hasn't been here very long. They imported seeds from German and British greenhouses that had specialized in the plants. So this guy, Baron von St. Paul, stationed by the German East Africa Company in Zanzibar in 1891, and he was out walking, and he noticed this lovely plant.
And he immediately sent seeds back to his dad. Yeah.
Who then became named after him. So the last part here, the species name, Ioanantha, is derived from the Greek ion, which means violet, and anthos, of course, which means flower.
Yes.
So Sampalia ianantha. And I love African violets. They are so beautiful.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Just gorgeous. And they're very easy to take care of.
Right. Fantastic. So you got more? Is that it?
That's it.
That's it?
We took some time on the books. We raced through the other items.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a lot of fun.
That was fun. So Stuff My Stocking, right?
Yep, Stuff My Stocking.
Haydn, Paul Gilbert.
Pilger.
J&D Kelly.
Yep.
Some candles.
Yeah, exactly.
And throw in some African violets. And you?
You got your archaeological guides.
Right.
You got some cartoons with your asterisk and your Larry Gonick.
That's right. Clash of the Titans.
Clash of the Titans. You're never going to go wrong spinning the Police's classic Synchronicity.
Synchronicity. And shove some Twizzlers in there.
Exactly. Stuff your face.
All right. There you got it.
Right.
Well, we got to get out of here.
We do, but before that,
okay.
Dave, could you tell us something about the Moss method?
Oh, right.
Because this episode is also brought to you by the Moss
yes.
method.
So the Moss method is a program I've developed to take you from
neophyte
to erudite. So each module starts out with reading actual Greek. I explain all through these whiteboard videos. I explain all of the words, the phrases, the clauses, the whole 9 yards, but it's fun because you're reading actual connected prose the very first day. Fascinating, interesting stories with me as your psychopampas.
Your soul guide.
Your soul guide.
Yeah.
I take you down into the underbelly of Greek and bring you back with more confidence and competence than you could ever imagine.
So your students could undergo a catabasis, but fear not.
But fear not.
Yeah.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So go to mossmethod.com, please. Check it out. And if they sign up, they get 1 hour per week with me and other Greek students around the world in our Moss Method Zoom office hours.
You live.
That's me, the flanky. Yep.
Yeah, the flanky. Yep.
The Moffus hours. Well, let's thank some people, Jeff, and wrap this up.
Yeah, so we got to thank Mishka, as always, our wonderful engineer who puts this all together and now doing kind of double duty with doing the video, kind of editing the video.
Plus, she does Latin per diem work for me.
Right. We got to thank our the guy behind the filming,
The
videographer.
Agricola.
Yeah, should we call him Agricola?
Yeah, we can call him Agricola.
All right.
Right. Our mystery man.
Yes.
Thanks to Ken Tamplin, Scott Van Zen for the great music.
Yeah, although they're not on this episode.
Oh, that's right. We got special music.
Yeah, we have Ken for the bumper music for the commercials, but featured today, as the listener no doubt heard, is Mr. Jeff Sheets.
Jeff Sheets.
Playing this beautiful Christmas music for us. Jeff is from the Kansas City area, also a very fine musician, and he has donated this wonderful Christmas music for us. And if you listen up, you're going to get a really nice outro song here. So
yeah, stick around to the end.
You're not going to want to miss this.
Yes.
So check out his website too, jeffsheets.com.
Fantastic. Yes, listeners, keep the email coming and suggestions. If you want to get a shout out, don't hesitate to write us to dave@adnauseam.com. Don't forget the V.
Or jeff@adnauseam.com. Don't forget the V.
Yes. Keep those suggestions coming. We love hearing from you. And we write back.
We do.
We write back.
Yeah. So next week, Jeff.
Oh man, I'm excited about that. I'm a little nervous about this one.
More than a little nervous, let's say.
So it's Married with Classicists.
Yes, Mrs. Winkle and Mrs. Noe are coming into the studio, and we're going to record Married with Classicists.
Yes, you don't want to miss this one.
Nope.
Yep. And Dave, you got our gustatory parting shot.
I do. So this comes from Natasha Potter. And I don't agree with this completely. I might add a little in, but, we'll just let it stand. It's nice. She says, there are 3 means of refuge from the challenges of life.
Okay.
Good music, good friends, and good food.
Makes me want to light a candle.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Oh, this is solo here. All this, sorry. Second half.